So moving on from switchable water pumps, the next unit we're going to look at is thermal management units. Here's one from a BMW Mini 1.5 diesel. Now the reason we use thermal management units is that actually we can control different systems on the cooling circuit. So with a thermal management unit we can actually get the engine up to temperature 30% faster. We can actually get the oil temperature, the oil for the engine and for the gearbox, okay, 50% faster, and we can also bring the interior heater up to temperature also about 30% faster. Now, how they work in operation is, I have the use of some slides. So what we have an engine control unit controlling a motor on the front of that unit. That motor is then connected to rotary slide 1, okay, the first rotary slide here. Basically, rotary slide 1 controls the amount of cold coolant being introduced into the system. So when we want it to warm up, okay, we don't bring any cold coolant in. When it's up to temperature, we just introduce small amounts of cold coolant just to maintain that temperature. The other rotary slide is rotary slide 2. This actually controls the amount of flow and where it flows to. So when we want to bring the temperature up as quick as we can, we reduce the flow, and then when the engine is up to temperature, we can actually then increase the flow to maintain that temperature. So if we have a look at this, when we basically just turn the ignition on the car, okay, what's going to happen is the control unit is going to tell the motor to rotate rotary slide 1 round to the 160-degree position. Okay, at that point, as you can see, rotary slide 2 is actually closed off. It's closed off all the returns for that system. Now when we start the car and we go into the warm-up phase, rotary slide 2 rotates slightly, okay, and just opens up, okay, just slightly to allow some coolant to vent through. So as the pump starts to circulate, the pump's turning, it's forcing coolant through at a slow rate. It's going through the turbocharger. Now the turbocharger heats up very, very quickly. So what we're doing, putting cold coolant into a hot turbocharger, is taking the heat out of that turbocharger, heating the cooling system, bringing it round through the pump, back through the engine, back into the turbocharger. So we are using the turbocharger to bring the cooling system up to temperature as quick as we can. Now, that's fine under normal operating conditions. What about if it's a cold morning and we want the heater to work in the car? Well, all we do is we close off rotary slide 2. What we do, we pump the coolant through the heater matrix, then through into the turbocharger, taking the heat from the turbocharger, bringing that coolant around back into the pump, okay, back into the car, into the heater matrix, okay, and then as the cooling system warms up, that heat is being transferred into the interior of the car. Then at about 85, in between, well, about 85 degrees, okay, what we're actually going to do is we're going to open up, okay, rotary slide 1 a little bit more, okay, and then what that's going to do, that's going to allow actually the oil return system to open up. So we're now allowing that hot coolant to flow around the oil cooler. We're now turning that oil cooler into actually an oil heater. So as the engine oil is flowing through the cooler, it's actually now heating up. We're getting the engine oil up to temperature a lot quicker. If it's an automatic, okay, we've also got an oil cooler for the gearbox oil, so we're actually heating that oil up to temperature. Like we said earlier, yeah, up to 50% faster we can bring that oil up to temperature. So that is opening at about 85 degrees of temperature.